Morning, everyone. Let's look at the scriptures. Let's look at the words of John chapter 4. John chapter 4 from verse 7. If you found it, I'll begin reading from verse 7. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, that I am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence hast thou the living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drink thereof himself, and his children and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of the water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I give shall not never thirst. But the water that I give him shall be in a well of living water, springing up into everlasting life. The woman saith unto her, Give me to drink this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said to her, Go call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said to her, Thou hast well said, that I have no husband. For thou hast 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast is not thy husband. And that saidst thou truly. The woman said unto her, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. I read up to there. Luckily, we were able to suppress a lot of the coronavirus, and we've become very free. I went out to the city to be able to do some work, and I see that there's a lot of people that are walking around in the cities, and there's a lot of traffic that's building up on the streets as well. Anyhow, as we find much more security, and also we find that it's much more safe to walk around in Korea, and I'm so thankful. I can't say how thankful I am all in words. However, on this earth, still there's many people who are suffering due to coronavirus, and there's a lot of people who can't walk out into the streets. And now among them, after we had our Zoom fellowship during the Easter Sunday service, a lot of our regional pastors gathered together, and what they said was, starting from May 10th this week, we were originally planning on doing our Bible crusade. However, we can't do a Bible crusade, but let us do a Bible crusade through the Zoom. When we first planned to do our Bible conference, there are many broadcasting stations all around the world that actually proposed to try to air our service, and we looked into the views. When we first started off, they said around 130 million. We thought, hey, is this true? It seemed like a lie. I didn't know whether if I could believe that information or not. However, since the missionaries all across our mission are all around the world, so later on that number became 180 million, so it became 200, 300 million, and I really thought to myself, is this true? I don't think this is true. And so among the many broadcasting stations, and so there are many people and there are many stations who said that they were going to do it. And so from small countries, they were asking for a little bit of money. And I was going to tell them, hey, don't do that. If you're not going to do it for free, then don't do it. And so many places, so many stations wanted to air our service. Yesterday, I heard that he won all the way up to 740 million. I'm really sorry to say, I don't know if this is something, if I can tell all the brothers and sisters, but it seemed almost like a lie for us to get the viewers. But now we're way past 740 million, and they say that by tomorrow we're gonna get more. And from United States, they said that there's a famous broadcasting station that I requested to want to do a continuous run, and I think that I'm gonna be living on the TV. And I'm so thankful about that. And when we first started our Zoom meeting, I also could not believe that 2 million viewers came in to watch our Easter Sunday service. And so the very first session, our system had a breakdown because there were so many viewers that came in. And eventually we were able to make it so that we could support all 2 million viewers. And now we have ways that have opened, so now we can do the service. And even before this, Pastor Oh Young-do, he's currently missioning in London. And so there was a pastor's meeting that they had gathering together. He went out to that meeting several times, but what they said was, starting from 2020, you should be our representative. Be the representative of our meeting here. And what Pastor Oh Young-do said was, I'm not that good at English. I can't speak it well. And he says, no, you don't lack English. If you just by speaking like that's enough, they said. And so eventually all of our pastors had gathered together, and I preached for an entire session of 4 sessions, and all the pastors of Europe, they were so shocked by that. And so last night I was able to listen to the testimony of Pastor Oh Young-shin, and so they gathered a few of those pastors, and he preached an hour of sermon. And what they said was, it's good that you preach the word, but I thought that you were going to set up a plan. We need to learn about these words. How can you just preach the word and not, teach us about and set up a plan for this? And so I think it's going to be so amazing. After this coronavirus is over, I either want to invite those pastors to Korea. We also have our Côte d'Ivoire pastors who speak French. And so among West Africa, and so a lot of our French-speaking countries, they were falling a little bit behind compared to the English-speaking pastors. So what I said was, I think that it'd be nice if you can send the French-speaking pastors, the native pastors, to Korea, and there we can train them for about 3 months. And I believe that about 35 people came in. From Cameroon, from Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, from several of these countries they came in. And after 3 months of training, they received so much change. So just a few days ago, I went there to give a lecture. They said that they don't have any more flights to go back into their own countries. I thought they would be worried about that. They said that because now that we're staying for 3 more months, they were so happy. They were ecstatic about that. Yesterday afternoon, it was actually 2 afternoons ago. And so actually we had as we had the ambassador of Côte d'Ivoire who came all the way to Suwon. And so he gave me an envelope of money, and there was $1,000 roughly in there. And the brothers and sisters that all came there, the ambassador said that he gave them a lot of money. And so what the brothers testified to the ambassadors was that, we eat so well here, so we can't even fit into our pants anymore. And so we had good fellowship there. But the government of Côte d'Ivoire, the president himself, it was about 3 years ago, he sent somebody from his main office, Oval Office, called Jorvin. And he said that he wants to make Côte d'Ivoire into the most developed country. But it's not that we just have to develop materialistically, but we have to develop in our mindset. So he said, why don't you look into many different places that have developed mindsets? And so it was around November he came so that he could learn about the IYF mindset. He even visited our TEDx school. And as soon as he saw the school, he was so shocked. He says, how in the world is there a school like this? He says that he wanted to send his own kids over to the school. So the president then fully supported in doing the mind education. And then on top of that, eventually Jorvin, he was able to become the Minister of Education. And this time around, there was a lot of people who came from Cote d'Ivoire to receive spiritual training, and I'm so thankful about that. More thankfully is that our elder Hwang Hyo-jung, he was able to use Chinese medicine to develop medication for the Bruley ulcer. And he moved to a different hospital, and there I gave, on his opening service, I gave him a scripture, and I said that the heart of man overcomes the disease. If the heart is sick, then who can know it? And so Elder Hwang Hyo-jung, he was reading through that verse one day. He says that heart is representing the beating heart. It's referring to the beating heart. And so Elder Hwang Hyo-jung, he is the greatest doctor in eczema. A lot of times what they did was they used medication to try to help the liver. It's focused upon the liver because it has to do with the skin. However, from that point on, he started to develop a medication that would help the heart. But as soon as he developed that medication, then the body became so much better, and then it starts to raise up stamina, and also people are able to, the eczema became so much better. And he went to Cote d'Ivoire, and there's a very scary disease that's going around for Bruley ulcer, and he was able to provide that medication and heal numerous people that were there. And by the grace of God, another thing that happened was, it was a few years ago, there was a universidad. From Ethiopia, they asked us, saying that we've never done an international event ever before. They determined, they believed that there was not a better international organization than IYF. And so there, we even went to the universal competition, and there we were able to provide help. Our IYF leaders came, went there, and they were able to provide education and also training for 1,500 volunteers. And it was such a good experience. And then on top of that, and so I was able to participate in that event. And during that time, I was able to receive a lot of popularity because a lot of people, they've done a lot of their speeches in English, and I'm not good at English, and I can speak it if I knew. But the problem is that other people can't understand me. And so I just spoke in Korean. I spoke in Korean, but the translator translated it in Ethiopian. And so there were very few people that actually can listen in English. A lot of people listened to my lecture at that time, so I was able to receive a lot of popularity. But at that time, from WHO, from the health organization, they said that Bruley ulcer is a tropical disease, incurable disease, and so it's not that I tried to meet those people, but then they were able to automatically connect us. And so somebody who came out as a short-term missionary, and I used to be like, hey to him, but now he's a first secretary of the ambassador, and so it's so amazing to see stuff like that. And even after hearing the presentation regarding the Bruley ulcer, Cote d'Ivoire and also in Benin. They said that they wanted to do human trials.
정부가 너무 작년 여름에 갔을 때 정부 측에서 임상 시험을 다 책임지게 하고
And they said that the government themselves, they said that they would take on all the full responsibility of running human trials.
아비장 시장이
And it was the mayor of Abidjan. And so, almost like the mayor of Seoul, if we say, is a capital city, he received salvation. I was so shocked to see that. But I went there, I saw that his position was very high. And so then when I arrived there, they even put out a whole band and they performed for me. And then they even came all the way into the plane to greet me. And what he said to me was, Pastor, we're going to build all the hospitals for you. We're going to build the IYF Center for you. Please just send the blueprint out to us and we'll build it. And so we were able to build a very good relationship with the government.
볼리비아
And this time around, I met with the president of Bolivia. The president of Bolivia,
수도가 거기 계시고
she's actually residing in La Paz, and they said elevation of 4,000 meters.
일어나지는 못하고 토하고
And if people go there normally, they're not able to, because the elevation is so high, they said that they're going to just vomit and it's becoming very difficult. So then we had our event
대통령께서
later on in Santa Cruz.
산타크루스까지 오셔서 같이
So the current president came all the way over to Santa Cruz to meet me, and then we had fellowship, and then we discussed regarding the mind education and also the future education of our youth.
방으로 저하고
Later on, I also came back and was able to have a video meeting with her. And for about 40 minutes, I prayed for her and also heard about some of the problems that were happening in the nation. Really, the fact that we're able to preach the gospel all throughout the world, I cannot say all in words.
예수님이
No, Jesus,
어떤 예루살렘과 시내를 걸어 다니면
as he was walking through the city in the city of Jerusalem,
특별히 경호원도 없고
he doesn't have any security.
시골 갈릴리온 어부 출신들 몇 명 따라다니고
He has a few fishermen that are from the Sea of Galilee.
예수님을 마음에 많이 그려봐.
I drew Jesus inside of my heart oftentimes.
제가 이 리처빌에 이사를 왔을 때
And when I moved into Richville,
방이 4개였어요.
and so there was 4 rooms.
전 그때 그 리처빌 아파트에 사는 게 방이 4개 너무 막 화려해서
And so because it was so extravagant for me to be able to spend my time there. Why? Because I had 4 rooms there.
생각하냐면
And what I thought about at the time was,
이 아파트가 예루살렘에 있었고
if this apartment actually was in Jerusalem and it was during the time of when Jesus was there,
우리 방에 못 쓰겠다는 그 생각이 들어요.
and I thought inside of my heart that
작은 방 하나는
so use a smaller room and then have it so that Jesus can stay in that room, and then the remaining 3 rooms we can have 4 disciples each in each room, and it'll be just right for the 12. Jesus will wake up in the morning, he's able to wash his hair, take a shower, and then change his clothes, and to be able to preach the word. How great would that have been?
예수님이 감람산에서
Jesus going into the Mount of Olives, he slept there at night. He would just go under the tree shade and he would sleep there and then wake up in the morning. Would he have been able to wash his hair? Would he have been able to wash his clothes properly?
그냥 그 불밭에서 주무시고 일어나셔서
And so by just simply waking up and also doing that,
어디서 피를 피하셨고
how would he have been able to avoid that? And I think about this inside of my heart. How would we be able to avoid the rain and also the difficulties? When I was in Kimcheon, I went through a little difficulty over my house. But really miraculously, when God gave me that house, I cried a lot.
당신 세상에 계실 때 집 한 채 방학하면서
Why? Because Jesus, he did not have a single room. He did not have a single home. But when it rained like this, where were you able to avoid the rain?
피곤해 어디서 주무셨고 어디가
Where did you sleep at night? Where were you able to wash your face? And where did you use the restroom? When I think about these things one by one,
예수님과 관해서 너무 화려하게
compared to Jesus, I lived such extravagant life.
선택을 받는 것 같아서
And it felt as if that I was living such a nice life. And so I cried a lot in Kimcheon at the time that he provided me with a home.
당신 비올 때
Jesus, when it rained for you, What tent were you under that you rested and you found
성경에
cover?
그런 이야기는 한 마디도 없지.
Of course, in the Bible, there's no description of that.
집밖에 없으셨다.
Jesus did not have a single
주의
home.
만찬을 갖기 위해서
In order for him to have the Last Supper, he had to
그 많은 병자 고쳐
borrow a home.
돈 만 원씩만 받아도
And so,
방 하나 얻을 수
from all the people that he healed and also that he spoke to, even if he received $10 each, he would have been able to get a room.
준비할 그 많은 머리가 안 돌아갔나 싶어.
And maybe the disciples there, they didn't even have the brains to want to provide a home or even any room for him. But the thing is that Jesus, one day,
예루살렘 길거리 혼자 길을 걸어가셨습니다.
as he was walking through Jerusalem all by himself,
누가 예수님으로 알았겠습니까?
who would have recognized and known that he was Jesus? Who would have thought that he was the Son of God?
누가 저분이 우리를 죄에서 구원하고
Who would have ever thought that he was the Savior to die on the cross and to wash away all of our sins?
주님은 저 같은 인간이 아니셨고
Jesus, he was not a man like me,
그 귀한 분이신데
and he's such a precious one.
우리를 위해서
And for us,
많은 병자를 살리는 그 병자들 가운데서
he saved many sick people, but among the sick people that were there were ruler of the Jews, the ruler of the synagogue, and so there were a lot of people. He was able to receive so much. He could have been able to receive such great things. However, he received so much difficulty and hardship throughout his entire life. One time, as I became a pastor, I was invited to some home and I was able to eat some food there, and they prepared such a good meal. I thought to myself, could I be able to enjoy a meal like this? It really didn't fit me so well. I felt awkward about it. Who is a person like me that I'm able to be treated to such a good meal like this? Everything was so awkward for me.
그냥 예수님을 사마리아 여자가 만났을 때
At the time that Jesus met the Samaritan woman,
예수님을 니고데모가 만났을 때
at the time that Nicodemus met Jesus,
예수님을 38년 된 병자가 만났을
and at the time that the man with infirmity for 38 years met with Jesus,
때만 유대인 한 사람이 남자였지.
he was just simply a plain Jew. Other than that, there was not a single person who thought differently of him.
제가 가늠한 여자가 예수님을 만났는데
At the time that the woman caught in the act of adultery met with Jesus, she was caught in the very act of adultery, and that's how she came before Jesus. But the reason why this woman committed adultery, most people say that since she had a lustful heart, that's why she committed adultery. However, that is not the case.
혼란한 마음이 일어난다고 다
Just because people have adulterous hearts doesn't mean that they all commit adultery.
혼란한 마음은 일어난다고
Let's say that just because you have an adulterous heart that you have the heart that you commit adultery, then there would be a lot of people who commit adultery. Then I think, why was it that this woman committed adultery? It's very simple to say.
수원 교도소하고 대전교도
For about 10 years, I taught the inmates there within Daejeon and also Suwon prison regarding why they commit sin and why they have committed that crime. There were a lot of people who I spoke to and also I was able to teach, but I was able to learn about so many things from those people. Those inmates, once they get caught and put into the prison, the first thing that they think about is, why was I caught? And they said, oh, that's right, because I left my fingerprints. That's why I was caught. That was my mistake. Next time, as soon as I get released, I'm gonna wear my gloves, and if I steal, then I will never get caught.
나가서 한 3개월씩 다시 돌아오고
And then after about 3 months, then they return right back there. Oh, why did I get caught this time? Oh, because it was early night, and so that's why, early evening, that's why I got caught. But the thing is that
완전 범죄를 그런
many of these inmates, they're always thinking and planning about a perfect crime scene.
범죄가 될 거라고 확신할 때
They believe inside their hearts that it's going to be for sure that I can make a perfect crime scene. Then they get caught and they get brought into this. So the people who catch those people, they only think about those kind of things and they are able to find out those people. When they find those people who break into a safe, what they do is, these people, they don't want to show that it was them, and so they show many different things. But then as soon as the people get there and they realize who this was, they're able to see exactly who it is. And so there are a lot of people who who ignite bombs in America. And so right then there was the very first investigator who goes into it. And so of course they change the code there and there. But there's a people who say this.
그냥 엄살 부려가지고
And so when people experience difficulty, they say, "Oh, please save me, save me."
그 방법을 쓰고
And so they're always using that same method. But then there's other people who say, "Oh, just kill me, kill me." And so those people who do that, act that way, they always use that same method. It's very difficult for people to get out of that old method, and that's why they are always determined to they're always made to be caught. And that's why people end up committing crime.
하는 사람들은
The people who commit adultery, why is it that they commit adultery?
가늠하다 잡힌 돌에 맞아 죽지만
Even though if I get caught, then I'll be stoned to death. But
믿음이 가진 사람들
the people who believe inside their hearts that even if I do this, I will not get caught. The people who have the heart to believe in themselves, they're the ones who eventually get caught. The woman who was caught in the act of adultery, she was caught in the act. She was caught in the very act and she was dragged before Jesus to be stoned to death. The scribes and the Pharisees, they said unto her, and they said, such a woman was caught in the very act. Moses in the law commanded that such a woman should be stoned. What sayest thou, teacher?
손가락 땅에 글씨 쓰시다가
And so he wrote on the ground, and then he says,
그들은 돌로 치라고 할 거지.
they thought to themselves, oh, he's going to say to strike her. If they say to strike her, then it doesn't make any sense to be able to say to strike him when he says that he's loved. But and also on the other hand, if he says not to strike him, then it's against the law. So they only thought to themselves either to stone or not to stone her. They only thought about those two answers. But then Jesus, as he was writing on the ground with his finger, he arose, and what he said was,
나 이야기도 하는
he did not say to either strike or to not strike.
마음에
What he said was, he began speaking about their own hearts.
죄 없는 자가
It says, anyone among you that is without sin, let him first cast a stone at her.
모인 모든 사람들이
And at that moment, all the people that were gathered there,
여자의 죄를 두고 정지하고 막 그랬는데
they were all pointing fingers and they were condemning the sin of the woman caught in the act of adultery. But for the very first time,
한 여자 죄를 보고 저런 여자 나쁜 여자
that woman's such a dirty woman. That woman, she doesn't belong here. She's going to be dirty. We need to kill her. And so this and that. And they began condemning her.
예수님의 그 말 한마디가
However, that one word of Jesus, eventually when it came into her heart,
나는 죄가 없는가 나
when it came into their heart, they began to look back and reflect upon themselves. Did I not have a sinful heart? I also have a heart to covet. I have a heart to steal. And even though I have not committed theft, but they realized inside their hearts that they're the exact same human being. And they felt ashamed because of that.
그들은 다 돌을 손에 놓고
They all dropped their stones from their hands and they all returned back. And it was just a woman and Jesus left alone.
여자는 자기 생각을 믿었어요.
This woman, she trusted in her own thoughts. She thought to herself, if I do this, then I will not be caught. I just don't have to be caught. However, she came to realize inside of her heart that she was very foolish for that.
이 여자가
And right then, this woman,
그냥 평범하게 좋은 옷을 입은 것도 아니고
it's not that, she was able to wear such nice clothes or be able to bring in
하게 생긴 예수님의 입에서
a lot of secretaries, people that are helping him, advisors.
한마디는
But that one word of Jesus that came into him,
우리를 어느 누구도 죽음을 건질 수 없는 자기를 건져내는 그 예수님의
He was able to realize truly the wisdom of Jesus that could save this woman that nobody could save.
여자만 돌에 매서 죽을 것을 건져낸 것만 아니고
It's not just that this Jesus saved this woman from being stoned to death.
옥수라는
However, even this man named Oksu Park, who could only die instead of sin, he tried and struggled to come out of sin.
불안하고 거짓말 안 하려고 막 안간히
And he tried all that he could to try to get out of that.
새벽마다 기도하며
And he prayed every morning and saying, please allow me not to commit sin today. If I go there and I'm going to meet with my friends and commit sin once again, this repetitive life that I lived.
나를 거기서
And from that,
건져내 주시고
he saved me.
나를 깨끗게
And there,
그 더러운 죄를 씻으시고
he washed my dirty sins away
하시고
and truly made me holy and also made me righteous.
예수님을 만나서
And by meeting with Jesus,
이야기를 하면 할수록
and the more that you meet and also talk,
그냥 외형적으로
outwardly, it seems like there's nothing that it's great about him. It's not like he's good looking or he has nice clothes. It's not that he has gold coated clothes or it's not anything like that.
그와 대화를 해보면
However, when you have a conversation with him,
나오는 말씀을 들어보면
when you listen to the words which come out of him,
세상 어디에서도 얻을 수 없는
these
있고
are truths that you can never hear of anywhere in this world. And there's power inside of that.
우리를
And therefore,
통해서
from our pain, from our misery,
품에
and from our sadness, and from our disease, from our sin, he does the very work of having to strip us and also save us from that.
그 예수님 평범하게
And as you meet with Jesus just simply,
그 예수님을 만난 사마리 여자가
this Samaritan woman that met with Jesus, we read the story today.
그냥 우물가에서 예수님을 만났습니다. 물을 길러러 왔다.
And this woman simply met with Jesus on the well
근데 이제
to draw as she came to draw water.
유대인인 걸 금방 알 수.
And immediately the Samaritan woman was able to recognize that Jesus was a Jew. And a Jew,
여자 혼혈족이기 때문에
a Samaritan being mixed blood.
심하게 말하는
And so they're despised by people.
취급.
And so severely said they are treated as dogs. And they do not converse with them. And that's how they're treated. However,
물을 좀 달.
Jesus came unto this woman and said, draw me some water.
사마리 여자가 깜짝 놀라.
And that's when this woman was completely shocked.
저분은 유대인인데
This man, he is a Jew.
사마리 여자같이 식사도 안 하고 말도 안 하고
Should not even be conversing or even talking to or even having a meal with the Samaritans. But he's asking me for a drink?
여기에
What,
물을 달라고.
in what atmosphere is this that he's asking me for a drink of water? And so she was so curious about that. And so this woman,
어떻게 사마리 여자에게
how is it that you go and ask a Samaritan like me for a drink of water? And so it's very different from any other people.
물좀 달라는 그 부분만 알고 다르게 느꼈기 때문에
And so it's very curious to see exactly how is it that you ask a Samaritan like me for water.
예수님이 그 다음 이야기
And then afterwards what Jesus says is,
네가 만일에 하나님 선물과 또
it says, if thou knowest the gift of God and who it is that thou sayest unto thee, give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water.
몸에
And more,
마음이 생기면서
you begin to become much more curious.
마음에
And right then,
끌어가고 이자 끌려가는
she is now being led into the place where she's able to continue to feel the heart of the Lord.
거고
Oh, I have nothing to draw with, and also the well is deep, and from whence hast thou that living water?
우리 조상 야곱은 이 우물을 우리에게 주어서 그도 짐승이 먹었는데
And so, He says, Sir, are you greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? And right then Jesus saith unto her,
유대인으로 사마리 여자 나에게 물을 달라고 하는 그 부분도 놀라운 일이죠.
it's amazing to see that Jesus is asking this woman to drink, but the words which Jesus says completely overtook this woman.
이 물을 묻는 자마다
Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again.
내가 주는 물을
But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst.
나의 주는 물은 그 속에 영생하도록
But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life.
이 여자는 예수님 인품을 봐서
And so just by looking at the
사마리아의 천한 여자에게
traits of this woman, it seems almost as if that knows for sure that she's not somebody who could be just joking with her.
물을 먹는 자마다 다시 목마르려니와
And whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again,
내가 주는 물은
but the water that I shall give shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. And so this woman,
예수님이 가진 그 인품 속에 그
just by looking at the appearance of Jesus, and so we could see that she's being completely taken up by the words of Jesus. So the words which will become, it says, the water which I will give unto you will be a water springing up into everlasting life. If she had not known about Jesus, then she could be simply laughing. Where is that water? You're just joking with me. I'm busy, and so she would have just left.
사실 이 여자는
However, actually, this woman,
신령으로 여섯 번째 남편과 살면서
as she was living already with her sixth husband,
첫 번째 남편에 대해서
she divorced her first husband because of that, and also the second man. And of course, there were many special characteristics about those other men, but she could not receive true happiness and also peace inside of her heart. That's why she was living with her sixth husband.
얻는 그 큰 기쁨이
However, the great joy and also the grace which she receives from Jesus,
그러면 들어서 놀라운 거예요.
the more that she listens to it, she's so amazed by it.
가늠한 여자 가늠하다 잡혀서
It's almost as if the woman caught in the act of adultery, she is taken,
예수님을 만났을 때
and as soon as she met,
어느 누구도 가늠한 죄에서 자기를 건져줄 사람이 없었어요.
there was not a single person that could save this woman out from
가늠한 여자
being stoned to death.
경찰서장이면 살려줄 수 있었을까?
I thought to myself, let's say that her older brother was the chief of police, then would he have been able to be saved? If let's say that he was a congressman, would she have been able to be saved? If let's say that it was the mayor of the city, and so would it been able to be saved? And I'm curious about that. However,
너희 중에 죄 없는 자가 먼저 이 여자 돌로 치란 그 말 한마디
by that one word of Jesus, by saying, whosoever that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her,
해서
it truly made all those people's hearts be ashamed and eventually run away.
분이 그 죄에서
And this is how he was able to save and make this woman be free from her sins.
그를 고소한 자들이 없느냐.
Woman, where are those thine accusers?
그를 봐봐.
And she raises her head and she looks around and she says, No man, Lord.
나도 너를 정죄하지 않냐.
Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. And this is the way that goes and sends this woman away.
여자가 가진 지혜는
And so the wisdom that this woman had,
자기 속에 일어나는 음란한 마음이 일어날 때
whenever she has the heart of lust that comes out of her,
내가 남자와 가늠을 하다 잡히면 어찌지
what's going to happen if I get caught committing adultery?
거야.
If I do this, then I may not get caught.
지혜를 믿어.
This woman, she trusted in that wisdom, and she trusted in herself.
내가 그 가늠한 여자라도
Even if I were that adulterous woman,
정말 주 예수님 내 돌에 맞아 죽을 수밖에 없는 나를
truly, a person like me who could only be stoned to death,
지혜를 가지신
he's the one that has the wisdom to be able to save me by a single word,
얻고
truly by having that wisdom, and if I'm able to
이런
be led by Him,
안 했을 것이고
I would not have committed such sins.
다른 사람도 그래서
And truly, there would have been another person that could have saved me from that.
그 생각이 왜안 들었겠어요?
Why do you think that this woman was not able to think of such things?
예수님을 보는 사람마다 다 다릅니다.
And so all the people that are looking toward Jesus, they have different views.
적인 면으로 보면
And if you look at it outwardly, and he's just a plain Jewish man,
마음을 만나고
but by meeting the heart of Jesus and also by interacting with his heart, when you think about his heart, truly it's so amazing to think about that.
제가 어렵고 힘들 때
During times of difficulty and hardship,
내 방법으로 여기서 벗어날 수는 없지만
even though I cannot come free from these things through my own method,
돌에 맞아 죽는 데서
but
하나도 어렵지 않게 건져주시는 예수님.
truly if it's Jesus that can save this woman from being stoned without any difficulty, then he can save me from this difficulty as well.
여기서 나를 해방할 수
He can set me free from this.
내가 나환자 초원에서
And so
자주 했습니다.
I had the conference in leper colony oftentimes.
뱀사골에서
And so then it was in Chiri Mountain in Pemsakgor.
집회를
And there I was invited by the leper colony and I was able to preach the word there.
하루는
And one day,
이제 정심 오전에 이제 말씀을 마침
after I preached the word in the morning, and so then in the afternoon, inside of our tent, as I'm there,
텐트를 다 제껴놓고
what they do, we roll up the tents, and then all the people come to receive personal counseling. And all afternoon long, people come to receive counseling. There's elders and also there are deacons that come, and so they come and I give counseling to them all day long. And right around the time when
연락을 나서는데
it's about to sun is about to set, there was a young lady that came in.
젊은 부인에게 성경을 펴서
And this young lady, I opened up the Bible and I began preaching the Bible to her, preaching the words to her.
예수님의 복음인데
And this gospel is the gospel of Jesus. And
돈도 안 내고
since I'm preaching, it almost seems as if it's mine. And so I preach it without having to pay any money.
전도자가 된 게 너무 감사.
The fact that I became a gospel preacher, I'm so thankful because
복음을 전해서
as I'm preaching the gospel and as I listen to the gospel,
예수님을 마음에서 만나고
and by meeting Jesus at the heart,
예수님의 마음을 한번 만나본 사람
and the people that have been able to come across the heart of Jesus,
예수님하고 세상에 뭘 주고도 안 받고
no matter what is given to them in this world, they will not exchange it for anything. And so the young lady,
진짜 나한테 슬픈 이야기를 하고
she told me a very sad story.
중학교 1학년 때
I believe she was in the first year or the second year of middle school and her mother passed away. And she cried so much after that.
그러고 난 뒤에
And afterwards,
새 엄마를 모셔왔는데
her father then brought in a stepmother.
엄마가
And the stepmother
딸을 하나 데려왔대.
brought in a daughter right around the same age as her.
이 학생 중학교 이제 1학년에 막 들어간 지 얼마.
And she just got into middle school. It's not been long.
근데 이제 그 새 엄마 딸은
However,
같이 중학교
that stepsister,
편이 안 좋아서 하나도 다니기 어려워. 새 엄마 학교를 못 아이 딸은 못 다니고.
and so she was not able to actually go to school for a long time because it was very difficult for her. But after about one day, 1 week, and 1 month, and looking at the stepmother's heart,
자기가 학교 다니고 자기 딸을
it seemed as though that since she wanted to show, she continued to show that she wanted to send her own daughter and not her to school.
그것 때문에
And so she could not overcome that.
하고 아버지하고
She felt that if there was going to be difficulty and a rift between that, then one day what she did was she took her bag and then went to school. And right after school, she came and left her home. So she came out right into the city.
도시로 가서
And she went out into the city
버스 터미널에
and in the bus terminal
또 다 떠서 갔다 앉아
where she had ran out of money and she didn't know what to do and she was just sitting there. Around the evening time, there was a lady that came to her.
어떻게 여기 왔냐?
Oh, how did you come here? And what brings you here? And they began talking with one another. And they said, oh, you went through so much hardship.
자기를 그 뭐에 음식을 사줬어.
And so then bought her a lot of food. And so she was so thankful inside of her heart to her.
부인이
And this lady,
학생을 사창가에다 팔았다.
what she did was she sold this young lady, this girl, into the whorehouse.
인생을 다 포기한
And so this person completely just gave up on her entire life.
죽은 엄마만 원망했대.
And so afterwards, she was just grieving over her dead mother. And so she thought to herself, if you were not going to be able to take care of me well, why did you even have me? And later on, this woman, she was able to meet with a man.
그 남자가 자기
And this man
너무 사랑해 주는 거야.
seemed as though that this man loved her so much. And so she would wait for this man every single day. And she would wait for him every single day.
남자가 자기 같은 여자를 사랑해 주는 정말 자기는 더도 없는
The fact that this man would love somebody like her, she had felt this love that she never felt before ever in her life.
날 좀 따라오라 그러더라고요.
And so he says, oh, please, can you come follow me?
묻지 말고.
He says, don't ask and just follow me.
그거대 이야기
And he says, well, tell me where it is.
날안 믿으면
If you don't trust me, then don't come.
묻지 말고 따라.
Don't ask and just follow me. And that's when this woman followed this man along and went into their house. And so this is how they began a new life together. And they were so happy to live with one another. The father and also the father-in-law and the mother-in-law, they truly were for her.
근데 정말 꿈 같은
And so they truly spent such happy times with one another. And after getting married, 2 years, 3 years had passed.
손자를 기다려.
And now the adults, the elderly people that are waiting to receive a grandchild. And so then they were able to receive a grandchild.
누구 입에 나왔는지
And it came out of some people's mouths.
그 말이
They said that, oh, there's no way that this woman can have a child. And from that moment on, the father-in-law and the mother-in-law, they would not look her in the face.
뻔을 죽으려고
And so she thought about having to kill herself several times.
2년 반 동안 너무 행복했는데
And so for 2.5 years, they were so happy.
신은
But why
어떻게 연장시켜주지 않았나?
does God not extend that happiness for me? What more misery will befall me?
그날 그 부인이 그런 걸 잘
And right then,
모르고
this woman, she had no idea about this whatsoever. And she just continued preaching the gospel.
마지막 히브리서
And lastly, Hebrews chapter 10. And their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more.
사하셨으면 다시 죄를
The remission of these is there's no more offering for sin.
그를 이루고
And this is the word which she was able to come across.
근데 거기서
And right then it says, and their sins
저희
and
부모를
iniquities will I remember no more.
그 말씀
And so these words, as it came into our heart, it exploded inside of her heart almost like a bomb. And it just broke her down.
여자가
And this woman then right then, she fell right into the floor. And she was crying.
좀 말씀을 좀 이거
I was preaching. I didn't even hit her. I didn't even beat her or anything. But why is she crying?
좀 진정한
I told her, oh, please calm down, calm down. And so then she continued to cry. So I just left the tent. And after a long while, when I looked inside, she was still crying and crying. She was sobbing.
한 20분은 됐나 다시
And I think about 20 minutes had passed, and I went back in. I said, please calm down.
울었냐고.
Why did you cry? I asked.
지난 이야기를 쭉 하면
And began talking about what happened in our past.
이 여자가 자기 지난 과거를 잊을 수만 있다면
If only she could forget about her past.
기억 상실증도 걸리고 싶었고
And she said that she wanted to just forget everything.
외딴 섬에 가서
She wanted to just go out into an isolated
혼자 살고 싶고 그랬다.
island and she wanted to just live all by herself.
예수님이 그 여자에게 저희 죄와
Jesus said unto this woman, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more.
이것을
Now remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin.
외치고 싶고
And so she wanted to shout, oh, I have no sin. And she wanted to declare that. Now he remembers my sin no more.
이 성경 한마디로
Everyone, by this one word of the Bible,
하나님 똑같은 성경 한마디지만
even though it's the exact same word of the Bible,
사람에 따라 받아들여
according to every single person, there's a big difference in how they accept these words.
우리가 만일 오늘 아침 이 자리에 앉은 여러분 모두
Everyone, let's say that all of you who are seated here today, because of sin,
죽어서
let's say that you die,
심판대 앞에 줄을
and let's say that you stand right in front of the judgment seat of God, and it says next, and it's your turn to stand there, and you stand right there. And as soon as you open up the Bible, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more.
이것을 사
Now remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin.
내가 죄가 막 벌벌 떨다 그
As I used to have so much sin and also was trembling inside of fear, the moment that I'm able to say that verdict,
사실
how happy would I be? Everyone, the truth is, we are all inside of the small star called the earth. Happens between person to person, and also we get lost within the works that happen between man to man. Because we're so deeply lost inside of our own lives,
예수님의
that
말씀이 내 마음에
the word of Jesus,
들어와 자리를 잡지 못해서
for it cannot come deep into our hearts to take a place inside of our hearts.
정말 내
But let's say that truly inside of my heart, let's say that truly inside of my heart,
예수님의 사랑
if that heart of Jesus and the love of Jesus comes into my heart and works, if I'm able to receive that grace,
무엇으로
then with what will I be able to pay in exchange for that love, for that grace? It is
저는 성경을 읽어
unspeakable, everyone.
이번에
And so this time around,
7억
as we have 700, 80 million or so that will be listened to our sermon, I thought to myself, what is it I have to talk about? What should I be talking about?
진짜 좋은 이야기 하고 싶었어요.
And I really wanted to talk about something good.
근데 성경에서
However, inside of the Bible,
그 악한 사단은
the evil Satan,
인간 마음을 하나님 은혜를 있는 이 자리에서 한쪽으로 끌고 가서
what he does is he continues to lead them into
십자가에 못 박혀 죽으시는 우리 모두
the path of destruction. And even though Jesus, he washed all of our sins away upon the cross, and truly today there's so many Christian leaders and many church leaders, they say that we still have sin and that we wander inside of sin, and they go up into Cheonggyun Mountain and Sangam Mountain and they ask and pray to forgive their sins. And there's so many people who are living such lives like that.
그런 성경 속에서 우리 죄가 사 이 부분들을 자꾸 뽑아
And so, as I look into all of the words which say that we have received the forgiveness of sins, how we became holy, how we became clean,
예수님이 38년 된 병자고 일어나 내 자리를 들고 걸어가서
Jesus said unto the man with infirmity for 38 years, rise, take up the bed and walk.
걷는데
Oh, I cannot walk.
속에 빠지면
And so if he falls into his own thoughts, then he cannot walk.
그 예수님 말씀 그대로
However, if he receives the word of Jesus exactly as,
그래,
oh,
하십시오.
teacher, what did you just tell me?
정말
You told me to
그러십시오.
walk,
이나
right?
그렇게
Okay, I'm gonna try
그러면
walking.
걷는
And if he walks, then he's able to walk.
예수님이 내가 그들의
Jesus
죄를
said unto them, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more. And it says, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more. And now where remission of these is,
다시는 죄를 위하여 제사 드릴 것이
there is no more offering for sin, he says.
이 놀라운 말씀
Truly so amazing, these words. Because people, they do not know about this at all.
표면적으로
Outwardly, they look into it, to Jesus. And also they say, oh, he's just a Jewish man. This Samaritan woman who came to the well, who simply just thought of Jesus that way. And the moment that she continues to have a conversation with him, she realizes that instead of Jesus, truly something unimaginable was inside of this woman. There's unimaginable grace, unimaginable mercy, unimaginable blessings inside of that. And the more that she comes to know about the heart of Jesus, her hearts become free and delighted, thankful and bright. And truly, this life cannot help but to come upon her. Everyone, truly so many people, as they are struggling with sin, and as you preach the gospel, there's a lot of people who are crying and also weeping, this and that. And so the woman caught in the act of adultery, she says, how in the world? That man called Jesus, he tried to save me. And completely melted their hearts to be able to do that work. He made it so that they will be ashamed to try to stone me to death. Why is it that I never had such a heart like that? Because I had a heart strongly to trust in myself. I had a lustful heart by thinking to myself that, oh, if I do this, then I'm not going to be caught and eventually get caught. And I have to eventually walk into the path of destruction, into death. And so I want to greet and accept him into my heart. If I'm able to live together with him, if I'm able to walk together with him, then any of our problems, any of my difficulties will be resolved. And the Samaritan said such words, Lord, please give me this water to drink, that I will never thirst again, or to come here to draw water ever again. Jesus said to her, go call thy husband and come hither. She says, woman answered and says, I have no husband. Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and whom thou hast now hast not thy husband. And right then, Jesus became the husband of this woman's spirit. And right then, we all, whether we are men or women, we all then become the bride of Jesus. As saints, as Jesus, he truly became our husband. And he died upon the cross. And not only was he crucified upon the cross, not only did he get crucified upon the cross, but all the things which he did for us and he needed to do for us, he accomplished. In order for that Jesus to work and live inside of our hearts, between Jesus and us, connecting our hearts with one another, as soon as that work is accomplished, that no matter what it may be, Jesus, He does that very work and He accomplishes it.
저는 지금도
Everyone, even now,
7억 뭐 4천
now talking about 740 million,
뭐 8천만
780 million,
아마 내일 가면
and by tomorrow,
8억까지 가까이 갈 것 같아요.
we may even go close as 800 million.
솔직히 저도 안
And so, honest to say, I also cannot believe this.
믿마다
But according to each
시청자 수를
broadcasting station, what they did was they contacted, they looked into all the viewers, and then, of course, not all the viewers will be listening to this, but this time around, from the broadcasting stations,
세계에 있는 코로나로 인해서
because of the worldwide coronavirus,
어두운 사람
for all the people that are dark and also empty as their home, and so by not receiving any money, and so there's just one broadcasting station, they said that, oh, please, can you pay us? And so I think there was a pastor who said that. I told him to tell that. Everybody else is doing it for free. But you're just a small little broadcasting station. Why are you doing that? I'm not exactly sure, what they said, but however, God has truly opened up such times like this.
이런 말씀을 전할 수 있는
And the fact that we're able to preach this word in front of God, I feel as though this is such a glorifying thing. I cannot say how glorifying this is.
이제 주님께서
Everyone, the Lord,
우리에게 주는 이 귀한 복음
this precious gospel which we have,
죄인으로 남아 있는 예수 말고
and truly no longer as we stay as sinners, as we believe in Jesus,
벗어나서
but as we become free from sin.
그리고 예수님이 내 안에 계시면서
And as Jesus, He dwells and lives inside of my heart, not only does He wash all of my sins away, but that Jesus, that can truly wash away all of my sins, our true Lord, He came as our true Savior.
여러분들이
So everyone, all of you,
이제는 걱정하는 일 좀 그만하세요.
stop worrying, everyone. It's not going to help you in any sort of way. It's going to affect your sleep. And moreover, if you worry a lot, then women, they're going to gain a lot of weight. And so, don't go on a diet. Just do not worry, okay? And so then, if you start to worry, then you start to gain more weight.
오늘
But truly, everyone, as that Jesus, He dwells inside of our hearts.
정말 그
And that woman, and then so I went to that church to hold a seminar there one time. And as soon as the seminar was over and people, they were leaving, and so then I was walking out, and then somebody was holding on to my coat, and I realized it was that lady. Pastor, it was the very first time that my husband came to church. I'm so happy. And after that, I was never able to meet her again. But I believe that even that husband was able to receive the forgiveness of sins and also be able to live a happy and wonderful life. I truly believe that God had given that life to them. Everyone, as we buy a nice apartment, we buy a nice car,
그 외에 뭐 좋은
and then on top of that, there's other good things here and there. There's good friends, and also there's good things here and there. And we think that those things will help us.
여러분 오늘
However, everyone,
여러분 마음 안에
this morning,
그 예수
inside of your heart,
여러분 죄를 사하셨다면
if that Jesus truly washed all of your sins away and He has become your Savior,
여러분이 고민하고 걱정하고 있으면 예수님 얼마나
then all the worries and also the difficulties that you have, if you're concerned and worried about them, do you know how angry Jesus would be? Hey, I'm gonna take care of it. Why are you worried about it? You should give it to me. Every time you get worried about those things, I hope that you are able to be reminded of this. Why are you worried about this? I'm trying to take care of it for you. Can you do this better than me? That's why I came here to give it to you. Don't be worried. Trust me. I will take care of it for you. You just do the work of the gospel, okay? Witness and also glorify the Lord. I will do everything for you. Pastor Oksupark, after he received salvation in 1962 and received the forgiveness of sins, he was 19 at the time.
그때 내가 대한민국에 9살
And so if I, let's say, line up all the 19-year-olds of Korea at the time, I probably will be the last or the second to last from there. And Jesus came into my heart and he became the Lord of my heart.
가난한 여자에서 예수님 지혜로 그 여자를 살려주시고
And right then, Jesus, he just like how he washed and he saved the woman caught in the act of adultery, and also he healed the man with infirmity for 38 years. And also, whenever there was a lack of wine in the Cana of Galilee, he solved that problem. And he even saved dead Jairus' daughter's
능력 그대로
Jairus' daughter. And with that power,
같이
as if he is together with us, he is living and he's alive inside of our hearts. And that wisdom and that power and that love, truly, he is there inside of our hearts.
필요 없습니다.
Everyone, it's not that you have to become wise. It's not that you have to be holy.
여러분의 거룩입니다.
The holiness of Jesus is your holiness.
여러분의
The righteousness of Jesus is your righteousness.
내 지혜가
The wisdom of Jesus,
여러분 예수님이 계셔서
as Jesus Christ is there inside of you, he becomes your righteousness and he will protect you and he will help you and he will look after you and he will bless you.
이제 우리가 손으로 만든
Everyone, even though we cannot touch with our hands and even though we cannot see with our eyes, but everyone raise your hand and try to hold onto the hand of Jesus. You cannot hold his hand, right? Try holding his hand. You cannot hold his hand. However, please hold onto the hand of Jesus from your heart. And that Jesus, he is our Lord.
그 예수님이 내 주가 되니까
That Jesus, because he become our Lord,
아무것도 아닌 인간.
even though Pastor Oksu Park, he is nothing, but each and every day, God establishes and God works. Everyone, I'm pretty sure this is something that happened for the very first time in my life. And so they say that it's 780 million, and by tomorrow will be 800 million people.
믿으신다니까요.
This is not something that I can believe or even see that. But this morning, and so then they showed me the list of people, and they said how many list of people, and also the viewers, and with all the TV stations, and they said 780 million. Lord, I say, Lord, you do this. And starting this evening, the broadcast will be sent out.
제가 예수님의 이름으로 쓰겠습니다.
I said that I would stand in the name of Jesus. Please, as you give that word upon me,
옛날에 사마리아 여자에게 하셨던 예수 말씀하셨던 주.
and that Lord who said unto the word of Samaria, to the Samaritan woman, and also just to Jesus, just like that Jesus who spoke unto the woman caught in the act of adultery, and the Jesus who saved the man with infirmity for 38 years, and to all the people that are suffering instead of sin, I ask that you would save them, each and every one of them, and as they take off that burden of sin and allow them to become happy and also be born again. Jesus, he can do that very work. Me being lacking is not a problem. Why? Because it's not me who's doing it. And just like the word of Jesus, I will only preach the word. And this is how I plan to stand on the pulpit starting this evening. And lastly, truly the grace of God is so great and amazing.
교회 형제하며
And also each and one of our brothers and sisters,
주님을 섬기면서
I ask that you will be able to serve the Lord, and there are a lot of difficulties and problems which you have had and you faced. But as you prayed with us, and also as you continue to help us and work with us financially, and also for us to be able to do this work all across the world, I'm so thankful to the Lord who has opened up these doors.
여러분도 오늘 이 시간
Everyone, even now at this time,
주님 우리를 위하여 생명을 버려주셨는데 여러분도
as Jesus, he came
이렇게 드리시고
and gave up his life for us, we ask that you would give your entire life to the Lord, that you would live only for the Lord,
예수님의 마음을 가지고
and that you would have the heart of Jesus and live only for the gospel of Jesus, and so that Jesus, that you would be able to save many people that are lost instead of sin. Everyone, I am well aged now. And this, I cannot believe it. It almost seems as though Pastor Kim Jae-ong put their age on me, and so Pastor Im Min Chul, and also it seems as though they just put their age upon me. I feel as though that I'm similar to them, but even until this time, God established me to come on this pulpit, and He loved me so much. And the fact that He has opened up so many doors for me, I'm so thankful inside of my heart. Everyone, all of us, let us all live for the Lord. Let us all give our lives before the Lord, so that we may give our lives before the Lord.
예수님 여러 마음도 일하시고
And we ask that all of us are able to live before the Lord and for allow Him to move us. Allow us to pray. We'll have a time of prayer individually.
찬송가 210장 찬송 같이 부르시겠습니다.
Let us sing a hymnal 210.
내 죄 사함 받고서 예수